Here we have an Israeli spokesman being questioned on the LBC about the murder of the 7 aid workers in Gaza, and they definitely don't make the Israeli government look better during their debate. And this is an Israeli spokesperson speaking on behest of the Israeli government.
In the last hour, the Foreign Office have summoned Israel's ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotovely, in to meet UK officials. David Menzer joins us, a spokesperson for the Israeli government. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. What happened?
Firstly, Tom, thank you very much for having me join you. Look, it's a terrible thing which has happened. I think there's a feeling of grief in this already grief-stricken country, because we know that, to be blunt, WCK are one of the good guys. You know, the dilemma we face.
Right, while the other 190 other aid workers killed by the Israeli government, supposed to be bad guys for giving out aid to people that need it? No, all the aid workers are good guys, and uh, the Israeli government should be punished for every single aid worker that they have killed.
Here in Israel is that we're trying to get rid of Hamas from Gaza and make sure they don't ever pose a threat to us again, and of course release our hostages. And part of that is making sure that as much aid as possible goes into Gaza to feed ordinary civilians, not Hamas. We've got no beef with the people of Gaza.
Right, so killing aid workers is somehow getting more aid to the innocent Palestinians that need it. How does that make sense? Because the Israeli government loves killing aid workers.
So we want them not to be affected by our war against Hamas. But the dilemma we have is so many of the aid agencies, particularly UNRWA, have been fronts for Hamas. So we were working with
But there's no evidence that UNRWA is a front for Hamas. That's just a baseless claim created by the Israeli to convince people to defund UNRWA so that less aid gets into Gaza.
WCK. Obviously, something terrible has happened. There
Well,
is
what, Mr.
an investigation.
You have given us the context. I've asked you for what happened. What happened?
Well, clearly something terrible has happened. I mean, that's why the
so Israel is responsible for the missiles that hit those vehicles, correct?
We are now conducting an investigation, as you would expect from a...
Wow, how pathetic. You can't even answer yes or no to a yes or no question.
Democratic country with the freedom of press and scrutiny and all the checks and balances. We are now...
Well, freedom of press, yet they deny international media from doing their jobs, and they've killed many people of the media. So it's a lie that the Israeli government is all about free press.
Now carrying out an investigation, but it's very, very clear that the defense minister, the IDF spokesman, the prime minister have all said that this is a terrible occurrence, and we will need to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. I can't, Tom, with the best...
Yes, it's terrible that the Israeli government murdered these people, and they should be punished for their murder. It's a mistake, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be punished for murdering people. There are times where individuals will accidentally kill people, and they're still charged for the murder of that person. Just because it's an accident doesn't mean you're not at fault.
Will in the world. I can't share with you exactly what happened. I wasn't there on the ground at the time.
Well, the
but we
information from the ground and from the charity is that 3 cars were travelling some distance away from one another at a time in a deconflicted zone, having given the IDF warning that they were moving, with vehicles that displayed, two of them at least, displayed their logo on the roofs. The video and
Yeah, this aid convoy was in coordination with the IDF. They were telling them their location, what they were doing, and they had their symbols on their vehicles. So the IDF cannot lie and claim it was a mistake because they knew where they were at.
the images from the ground show the logo that has now had a missile go through the top of the roof of the car. Israel targeted these vehicles deliberately, didn't they?
So, Tom, unless you have some sort of knowledge which we don't here in Israel, perhaps you can share that with us, because what has happened is clearly something terrible has happened. I mean,
what was the Prime
these are
Minister
the good
describing
guys.
as unintentional when he said that this was unintentional?
Well, of course, it's unintentional. WCK were one of the
What's
first
unintentional?
organizations.
Yeah, how can you claim it's unintentional to kill a convoy of aid workers that marked, that have told you their location, where they're at? Um, this is not unintentional. This was an intentional murder of aid workers. Uh, the Israeli government and their spokespeople can lie as much as they want, but the entire world knows that this was the assassination of aid workers.
Well, whatever's happened, and as I said, there'll be an investigation, and it's important not to
How can the
jump to
Prime Minister
conclusions
describe
before
as
due process.
unintentional something that you're unsure about what's actually gone on?
Tom, I say again that WCK are one of the good guys. They actually sent a team to Israel. They were one of the first
I know.
NGOs to send a team to Israel after the October the 7th invasion by the Hamas invasion force into my.
Yeah, they're one of the first people to help the Israeli government after October 7th. And this is their reward for helping the Israeli government to be murdered by the Israeli government.
Country when they did the terrible things which
I
they
know,
did.
sir.
So there is a real grief in this country about this, because these guys are some of the unsung heroes of all conflicts around the world. So it's a terrible thing that's happened. It's certainly not acceptable, which is why we're taking it extremely seriously from the top.
Right, they're taking it so seriously that Bibi Netanyahu has no remorse over it and says, "Oh, this is war." Happens. Like, that shows he doesn't care that innocent people are being killed. Same with all the other people defending the actions of the Israeli government, claiming these people were like helping Hamas or had guns or whatever else. Uh, the defenders of the Israeli government don't care that innocent people are being killed. They actually enjoy it.
Top to the bottom of this government, we want to know exactly what happened, and we will get to the bottom of what happened.
The information on the ground suggests that 3 vehicles were deliberately, directly targeted in what the Prime Minister Netanyahu describes in an unintentional fashion, although the pictures would disagree with him on that. This convoy was in a deconfliction zone, having given information to the IDF about where it was going. What other aid organisation could now trust that the information it gives to the IDF to protect them will actually be listened to?
Yeah, it's actually the Israeli government wants these aid organizations to tell them their locations and so that they can kill them. It is, uh, it's just the Israeli government just looking to prevent as much aid from getting into Gaza as possible, even if that means killing innocent people. Because honestly, the Israeli government doesn't care if the person is innocent or not, they're just going to kill them.
So I say again, Tom, rather, clearly something terrible has happened. We are investigating it. As I said before, these are very, very difficult scenarios. Hamas, unfortunately, are stealing aid from their own people. There's no one hungry in Hamas. You can be sure of that point. They steal the aid and they put it back onto the black market with vastly inflated prices. We've been working closely.
So that somehow justifies the Israeli government killing aid workers makes no sense whatsoever. Though these people always want to try to justify crimes by screaming Hamas.
with WCK because
Not
we
closely
want
enough,
as much
unfortunately.
aid.
Because if
Well,
you were working closely
obviously,
with them,
clearly.
there wouldn't be 7
No,
people dead, including 3 British
Tom,
nationals.
it's simply obscene, to be fair, to say that this was in any way intentional because I wouldn't be here.
No, what's truly unfair is trying to claim this was a mistake when it obviously wasn't a mistake. The IDF knew the location of the convoy.
Expressing, what I've been expressing already. If it was intentional, when we
You
go
didn't
after
intend, one
Hamas,
might think that you didn't
intention,
intend to
yeah.
target a charity, but clearly the targeting of the convoy that they were in was intentional. It's not an accident that the missile hit the roof of this vehicle, is it?
Not just one vehicle, but 3 vehicles. Um, the first vehicle got struck, people tried to escape. They got to the second vehicle and third vehicle, and then the second vehicle got hit, and then the third vehicle got hit. That wasn't unintentional. That was intentional.
Look, something catastrophic has gone wrong here. And the IDF are investigate it. It'll be in an independent investigation. You can be sure of that. And from the top highest levels of this government, the Prime Minister's made clear that he's spoken to his counterparts in other countries and the other countries of the people that were affected in this. It is a catastrophe. Which
Yeah, like the Australian Prime Minister who is seeking full accountability for what happened, and they're seeking the Israeli government to be uh, held accountable for the murder of these people, especially the Australian citizen. Um, the PM knows that these people were targeted. Uh, there is no way for the Israeli government to get out of the fact that they murdered these innocent people.
we're trying to get as much aid into Gaza and we know that WCK was one of our most trustworthy partners because we believed that they were not part of Hamas. We believed that they would get actual aid through to the people.
Right, so the other aid workers were a part of Hamas. Like, whatever, dude. Um, they want to pretend that they've only killed 7 aid workers, but over 200 aid workers have been killed by the Israeli government.
Which actually need it rather than Hamas stealing it. So something terrible for sure has happened, but I can't tell you more than that except just
And this idea that Hamas is stealing all the aid is just another excuse by the defenders of Israel itself, to justify the murder of aid workers.
say that the grief is real in this country. Britain, of course, is our closest partner in Europe. It's an extremely important relationship. None of us here.
Yeah, the Israeli government doesn't care if they kill British citizens, even though they're supposed to be an ally to Britain. If you truly actually acted as an ally to another nation, you wouldn't be killing their civilians.
Forget the fact that Rishi Sunak came to Israel very soon after the October 7th massacre, and he said very clearly to the Prime Minister, he said, and I remember these words, I'll never forget these words. He said,
You gotta realize that the Israeli government doesn't care about their allies. They will kill them. They've killed many, and they've killed many Canadians, and they've killed many British people. 3 nations that are supposed to be their allies. Um, if it was the United States, Canada, or the UK killing Israelis, the Israeli government would have an extreme reaction. They wouldn't take, oh, we just made a mistake and accidentally killed an Israeli. They would be screaming for compensation or threatening nukes or something else.
want you to win. And the reason there is that partnership between Britain in Israel is because Israel has saved umpteen lives on the streets of Britain. Our intelligence
That
has
partnership is being
saved
tested,
lives
Mr. Menzer,
on
isn't
it
it?
is
With
it is being
with
tested,
incidents like
but
this.
unfortunately,
Yeah, the Israeli government killing civilians of their allies definitely tests the relationship. Um, but it's just going to show that the Israeli government doesn't care if you're a citizen of their ally, they will murder you. This is why the Australian Prime Minister wants the Israeli government to be held accountable for the murder of the aid workers.
well, unfortunately, Tom, there is a terrible war going on. It's not a war that we started. It's not a war that we wanted, but we must finish this evil of Hamas to allow for a better future for the people of Gaza.
So he's using the fact that Hamas attacked Israel as a justification for the murder of these aid workers. How does that make any sense? Because Hamas, the Israeli government, is somehow justified in murdering innocent people of their allies? No, that makes no sense whatsoever.
And of course, for my people here in Israel as well. So we're trying to free Gaza from Hamas, the genocidal.
Right, so murdering aid workers somehow frees Palestinians in Gaza from Hamas, killing 30,000 innocent civilians somehow frees Palestinians from Hamas, killing children somehow frees them from Hamas. How does that make any sense whatsoever?
Murderous organization, but we need to ensure that as much aid as we can possibly get through to Gazan civilians actually gets